Greetings and welcome to this month's Philmont question and answer session from the Philmont Trek Talk group on Facebook. First, we're going to address this question that showed up in the comments just a couple minutes ago. Still waiting to start, or am I missing something? No, you're not missing something. I'm missing something. I thought I hit the go live button. We've been talking for 25 minutes. Turns out we weren't broadcasting, but we're here now, and we're going to talk about cool things that you can get from a gear perspective that may be good gifts for someone who's going to Philmont this summer or the coming summer. Either one is fine. The gifts, we'll talk about stocking stuffers. We'll talk about things that are a little bit more expensive. We may even talk about some real expensive stuff because now is the time of year that those tend to be on sale. So thanks so much. Yeah, thank you for that comment, John, because that is what kind of woke us up and made us realize that when I hit the broadcast button, I must have misclicked it or something because it didn't happen. So now let me go around the horn. I'm going to bring in each of our esteemed panelists. They'll tell you real quick who they are, and then we're going to dive in. All right, we're going to start with Rob.
Well, this time you gave good directions, but nobody heard it. I'm Rob Smith. I'm with Troop 85. I'm the High Adventure Chair in O'Fallon, Illinois. I'm also the purveyor of highadventurescouting.com. We've been pretty inactive the last couple months, mainly because I've been busy with work. I've got to pay the bills. And also work with the National Jamboree Committee as the chair and the Greater St. Louis Area Council. That's it.
Excellent. Welcome to the program. Mr. Sal Porto Jr.
Mr. Sal Porto Jr., Sal Porto Jr., Troop 212, Lutz, Florida, Assistant Scoutmaster, Philmont Ambassador for Greater Tampa Bay Area Council, and also lead for the Philmont contingent for our council. And owner-operator of Suncoast Wilderness First Aid, where we do Wilderness First Aid and then some.
Excellent. Welcome. Welcome.
No problem.
And I attempted, while you guys were talking, to load each of your websites to share with people, and they're not loading. I'm having internet issues on this end. Oh, right as I said that, Sal's came up, but I already clicked on Andy Parrish. So Andy,
back
you're
in
up.
the green room.
That's okay.
Here we go. We'll just do this real quick. Welcome to Suncoast Wilderness First Aid. And High Adventure Scouting is still not loading. We're going to keep trying, okay? We'll come back to it if it loads, okay?
We promise it exists. It exists. I promise. Hey, everybody. Andy here, Troop 152 in Westfield, Indiana. I'm the High Adventure Chair, outdoor enthusiast, and Andy here, just general useless knowledge.
But with a pretty cool echo. How did you do that? It's like you're throwing your voice.
I've been practicing ventriloquism. I've got to work a little bit on that. The timing's off.
Yeah. Well, Andy does have a great YouTube page with all kinds of cool information. So
Andy Parrish Outdoors.
Yes.
This is true.
I try to plug it on my podcast too. So along with Gear Report. So yeah.
Well, it's much appreciated. I think that shameless cross promotion is the best way to do things. So
I agree.
Okay, so let me recap all the things we talked about before I hit the go live button. Like, this is a discussion from the unofficial Philmont group. You may hear about an official discussion that happens every month that's put on by Philmont Scout Ranch from the actual people who work there, the real experts, right? This ain't it. We're going to talk about a lot of additional things. There's more opinion. There's less process and procedure and quoting manuals that happens here, although we could still do that at times. This discussion is sponsored by or part of the Philmont Trek Talk Prep News and Info group on Facebook that you can see right here. There will be a link in the description if you would like to go check the group out if you're not familiar with it already. We try to do this every month. We've actually been off for a couple months trying to catch up on some other things, but we depend in these broadcasts on the audience to chip in with questions, with comments. Let us know you're out there. If you have logged in and you're paying attention and have any questions or comments, please post them and we will do our best to give the best answers we know how, or point you to the correct resources, which could be that we answer it, or it could be that we refer you to the Philmont Scout Ranch Facebook page, or even the actual BSA site for Philmont Scout Ranch. So we do encourage people. I believe it's this Thursday that Philmont has their official monthly talk. I don't recall what their topic is. Sal, did you tell us what the topic was?
I think it's actually on. I'm looking. It's going to be on itinerary selection process.
Ooh, that's a good one. So especially for people who are going to go in. Go ahead.
It's going to be itineraries, crew dynamics, and leadership.
Nice. So especially for people going on a 2023 summer trek, this is going to be a really good one, because you're going to be getting stuck into that process so that you can help get your crew set up with what they're going to do. So definitely wanted to be sure that everyone knows we are the unofficial group, but you know what? I'd like to say we just have more fun here. I forgot to do my introduction. Hi, I'm Jeff. I'm the skipper of Sea Scout Ship 4019 in Burlington, North Carolina. And yes, Sea Scouts can go to Philmont. It's not just dirt scouts, all scouts, including Sea Scouts, Venture Scouts, Explorers. We can all go. Everyone can have fun at Philmont. So let's see. And I also run the multimedia web empire called Gear Report. At least that's what I call it. I don't know what anyone else calls it. And we have a pretty healthy section of content covering lots of things about Philmont Gear, including we'll dig into this article here, which is a overarching best backpacking gear, best budget backpacking gear. There's an emphasis on budget there. We're going to dig into that in a little bit. But the purpose of this discussion is to talk about gear with the idea of gifting, because we're in the gifting holiday season. And so with that, you know what? I'm going to lead off this time. Before we hit the broadcast button, I let you guys talk first, but I'm going to toss out a couple stocking stuffer type gift ideas here. You need some little fairly inexpensive things. Everyone doesn't need a 3-pack of lip balm on the trail, but I know personally out there in the low humidity of the New Mexico desert, my lips, without some sort of lip balm, my lips crack and bleed within a day or two. It's really bad. And also I can get nosebleeds, like cracking inside the nostril. And you can actually take a little bit of this on a finger, on a Q-tip, and line the inside of the nostrils to keep them from drying out so they don't bleed, and a little bit to help with your lips as well. I've got a Sharpie here, which we use for marking items that we're going to take on the trail, so that when we lose them, we have a chance of getting them back. So I'll put J Cress, and then whatever the crew number is, M17. What was I, 714M or something in a recent year? Or no, that was 17. So anyhow, those are a couple items. I showed a headlamp here. And this is one that I recommend. It's not my number one recommendation anymore. It's the Nightcore NU 25. What is it? NU 25. Yep. They've got a new version of this. I think this is like a 350 lumen output. They've got a 400 lumen output that, instead of this big strap, it's got 2 little bungee straps on it. That's the one that I'm recommending now. And that one is actually both of them are listed in the gear list that I mentioned earlier. So there, I've tossed out a little bit of fodder for some gift items that might be useful. What do you guys think?
Well, we talked about pillows.
We did.
Okay.
Go ahead, Rob. That's your cue. Pillow. There you go.
That is Outdoor Vitals pillow, but I've got another one. There's a climate pillow put in its case, so this fits really well. Like, I don't know, very small. They're bigger than this, so yeah.
Flashlights, pillows. We talked about maybe buffs. Buffs are fairly inexpensive to buy.
You could get a nice pair of like right sock, hiking socks.
Ooh. Yes, I like those.
There you go. That would work. What else?
Chairs.
Chairs.
Sal. Got to get a chair.
Yeah, got to get a chair.
You can get a chair for $25-$30. Cheap.
A nice sun hat. Something nice and stylish.
Maybe not that one.
This one, I'll tell you,
Maybe that
you may
one.
be able to find one on eBay that's already got Philmont brands on it, but generally you probably want a new one. This one, they don't smell too good once they've been used long enough to get brands on them. At least that's the case with this one. I like, if you're going to get a sun hat, I like the ones with the big obnoxious flaps on the back to keep the sun off of your neck. And I know, Andy, you want to talk about how you use a ball cap instead at times?
Yeah, I like wearing a ball cap. I do use a sun hat. I've used that out at Philmont. But when I do wear a ball cap, I'll wear something like this that's mesh, so it's breathable, because it gets pretty warm out there at times. And I don't like the solid ones. So when I go backpacking, I'm typically wearing a ball cap or something. Not that has the mullet in the back like Jeff's hat does, but a wide brimmed hat. So it's great for the sun out there.
So Jeff's hat is business in the front, party in the back.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Like an El Camino. Yes.
Pretty much.
That's right.
Yeah, but I'm hoping that for most scouts, they can get away with the trucker type hat like Andy's wearing.
Yep.
And don't have to have something with a solid top like this, because they're going to have a little bit more coverage. But for me, like any of the adults that are similarly follically challenged, you probably need something that's going to have coverage for the days that you're not under tree cover, that you're out in full sun.
No,
you get up at higher altitude with less atmosphere blocking that sun, and you'll see people out there on the trail with crispy heads, and you don't want that. That could be misery happening right there for you.
No. Yeah. Well, you could wear something like a buff too. Some people I've seen wear those, the tubular headgear.
Totally tubular.
Totally.
Yeah.
There's lots of things that could be little stocking stuffers or inexpensive things. Go ahead, Sal.
Hiking poles.
Yeah, trekking poles would be good.
Think about that. Yeah. There we go. Yeah.
There you go.
Those are probably more than stocking.
Please don't call me Vanna.
You have a big
but
stocking.
I will try to demonstrate a few things.
That'd have to be a massive stocking. Yeah.
Yeah.
We could go for another one for a large stocking.
Yeah.
How about
closed cell foam? Is that the Thermarest?
Yeah.
It's like a Thermarest. This one is actually from Featherstone. The Elcordion. Yes.
Elcordion.
It's the
Elcordion.
The Thermarest.
I'd buy it for the name. That's all. Although I'm old enough, I want something more nicer.
Well, exactly. And this is a great type of item to talk about. If you're buying a gift for someone, do you just say, "Ooh, I saw these guys on a broadcast about Philmont Gear, and they showed one of these, so I'm going to go out and find one of these and gift it to the person that I know that's trekking"? Is that a good idea, or is this the kind of item that you may want to check with them? Like check with who you're gifting to see, do you already have a sleeping pad? Are you happy with it? Would you like something like this?
Yeah.
If someone gave me, so actually a company sent me this, and I have slept on it. And with my bad back at my age, this wasn't going to work for me for a Philmont trek. It's a very nice pad, and I would recommend this for a young person who has a pack with a little bit extra room in it, where they'll get a little insulation value out of it and a little bit of padding, and they don't have to worry about rupturing an inflatable pad. Personally, I'm going to carry an inflatable pad that bundles up smaller, gives me a little thicker, a little bit more padding. So what do you guys tell people? Like all of you are adult leaders who I'm sure have parents come to you and say, hey, what should I get my kid for Christmas? Like, how do you advise them on the line between I'm going to get them what I think they need versus we need to understand the Philmont rules, what the crew has decided they're going to do, what the individual preference for that individual is? How do you talk to your folks about that?
Yeah, I encourage the scouts to, we'll typically do a few different meetings. And some of these are on YouTube too, where you can go and watch where, the Scoutmasters showing different types of gear, things that we recommend, things that we don't recommend, so that the scouts have at least an idea of the differences between the two. A lot of the scouts maybe buying things for the first time for backpacking, doing a big trip like Philmont. Our guys do a lot of camping, but not necessarily a ton of backpacking. So we're going to be doing a lot of, Jamboree kind of, stuff, where, we're going to drive the trailer in and unload it and set up the tents and all of that. So the gear isn't lightweight at all, or, good for something like a Philmont trek. So we do kind of the intro, give them an idea, and then sometimes the scouts will even put together a list, whether it's for Christmas or things that they want to obtain or save for a trek like that. That way the parents can talk to them and have an idea. And if the scout doesn't have a preference or just doesn't know enough about the field, that's when a lot of times they'll come up to me at a meeting. We've got one Thursday night. I expect to have a couple parents come to me afterwards and just say, all right, for this environment, what do you recommend for, how warm of a sleeping bag should I get? What kind of air pad should I be looking at? Do I need to consider, a different backpack? He's got this, like all of that kind of stuff. They'll come to me then, and we can give some more specific guidance to that individual scout's family. So that seems to work pretty well, but I always kind of push it. Let the scout be the first line of decision making. I'd love for them to take the initiative and look at it and do some research and figure out what they want, or come have a conversation with me and we can kind of hash out pros and cons. But ultimately, in the end, if they're just not sure or don't have an opinion, then the parents can come chat with me. What do you guys do?
Same thing you do, kind of, sort of. I always talk to the parents ahead of time. If they're looking for stuff, they'll call me and ask me, hey, what do you recommend for this or this? And I try to give them examples. Hey, this is what I use. But if you're looking for something more budget items, go with this, or this.
Yeah.
I try not to tell them to go to gearreport.com. I try to send them to Andy Parrish Outdoors instead.
That's a solid call, though.
That's just wisdom there.
Yeah, but I'll tell them to go to both places. I say go to these places, and I'll make it say this is what I use for an air mattress. If you really like it, you don't need it right now, but keep checking around because you'll find it on sale. Yeah. Or if they're looking for, let's say, rain gear is expensive. Mm-hmm. But if you shop around, trust me, you can find some really good rain gear pretty well priced. And yes, it may be last year's color, but do you really care if it's last year's color? As long as it's not pink or bright yellow, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm with you there, John. I need to have a little bit thicker pad, or at least I think I need it. I think you can also argue that people get so tired on the trail at Philmont, you could probably sleep without a pad and be fine. I mean, people did it for decades. Literally at Philmont, people trekked without sleeping pads for decades, and they pretty much survived, most of them at least. So it is possible to go without them, but there are definitely some preferences involved there. Oh, look at that. I just got a message that Mr. T is in the green room, which doesn't surprise me because there was a discussion earlier. There was a discussion earlier that there was going to be beer in the green room, so I expected him to be hanging out there for a while. I feel bad that I have to openly admit there's no beer in the green room. that was a bit of bait and switch. I apologize. Sort of.
Last time.
I think Scott's drinking the beer tonight. I think that's how that's working.
I believe that's what I heard. Yeah.
There was adult beverages at our district committee meeting.
Oh, perfect.
Well,
I've got a whole fridge full downstairs. So hey,
that's how they get people to show up at those district committee meetings, I guess.
That's
right. We had a joint district committee and commissioners meeting, Christmas get together. So
nice.
Sorry to be late.
That's all right.
So the discussion, we'll get you up to speed. Darrel, if you want to do an introduction real quick, and then we'll get you up to speed on what we're talking about. And
my name is Darrel Tadsen. I'm Greater St. Louis Area Council, St. Charles, Missouri. Okay, Rob. Anyways, been on multiple treks, led council contingents for a number of years. And yesterday I got my contract for Welcome Center for this summer.
Yay, we'll see you then.
I'll be out there beginning June 11. So stop by the Welcome Center, say hi, love to talk to you.
We'll see you on the 17th.
That's who I am. I don't know where we're at on the question and answer or whatever, but
well, I made plane reservations today.
Good to see you all. So.
All right, so we've been making the rounds talking about kind of some less expensive kind of gear that might be appropriate to be gifted for someone who's going on a trek this summer or next summer. So if you have any quick thoughts on some items that might be appropriate, and then we're also kind of going down the rabbit hole of, what items is it safe to get versus what do you really need to check with the trekker to see what they're going to use, what their crew's going to use, that kind of thing.
Man, I'd say the big items, you need to have some input from parents, and scouts. You can't, grandma can't buy a backpack without knowing, because you never know. Same thing I think with sleeping bags. That's
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about the big items that the kids, the youth have to be involved, but I mean, socks and things like that don't necessarily need sizing are certainly a little lesser cost Christmas gifts than a $125 and up backpack. But before I joined, I heard you talking about sleeping pads. Yeah, I mean ground pad that doesn't take a size. So those are some things that would be good to be in the stocking stuffer.
Could be. Yep.
Yeah. Knit caps, gloves.
Andy mentioned right socks earlier. I thought I'd bring that up real quick because those stockings to put in the stocking. There you go.
Yep.
Well, any darn tough sock. I mean, you can
love the darn toughs too.
Yeah, those are not cheap, but those are good stocking stuffers. Like you said, stocking inside the stocking.
Yeah, we've got some articles. Andy's got an article. You can see I actually opened it for editing because the embedded video isn't working right. I apologize. That's an issue with my website, I think. After changing to a new website host about a week ago. But anyhow, we have articles to help you figure out or to help the trekker figure out if you need help, like, well, okay, we know they need to get socks and that'd be a great item to give them for Christmas or for their birthday in the spring or whatever, or, whatever you want to give it to them for. We've got articles to help you figure it out. How about something like this? Do we need to, at an individual level, should parents be looking at, I need to get my kid a backpacking stove for their trip to Philmont?
No.
No.
All right. We are 100% in agreement here. Although I will say, if the crew has decided, here's what we want to take, and someone says, I would like to own one of those, do y'all mind if I ask for that for a gift? and get my parents to buy it and we can take it on the trek, I think that's perfectly acceptable. But as a parent, it sounds like we are all in agreement. Don't surprise your kid with a stove unless you have, fully discussed it with their crew and, know that that's what they're going to need.
I don't know where the rest of you are, but my feeling is 2 stoves and a crew is probably sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
But you can go with eating utensils, bowls, spoons, forks, all of this stuff that's not too expensive.
Yeah.
Maybe a good compass. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I like these little foldable, origami plates and bowls. And this is my food kit for a trek. Is I'll have something to drink out of, and then I'll have my plate and then my long ultralight spork, and that's it. And those are all good items.
Yeah.
Coming back to that spork, long handled is good, because a lot of the meals last year, and I assume coming forward, are going to be in pouches that you actually rehydrate in the pouch, and you really do need a longer spoon to reach in there.
Yeah, summer before last in 21, we probably had 80% of our meals on that trek. We were able to rehydrate in the bag because they came in a bag that was appropriate for rehydrating. And this was a godsend. It was wonderful to be able to get down in there and not have to use my plate at all at times. But then this past summer in June of 2022, we probably only had, I'm going to say 10 or 15% where we were actually able to rehydrate in the bag. The bags weren't appropriate for that. Like the stuffing in the little wax paper bag, or that wasn't going to happen. So you have to be prepared for either scenario, because you really just don't know from year to year how they're going to package the food and what you'll be able to get away with effectively in the field.
All
right. Any other ideas?
Even ordering out of the Tooth of Time, a T-shirt or hiking shorts, or even a map.
Hold up your water bottle again, Jeff.
Really good idea. What's that?
Hold your water bottle up again. That's a great gift right there.
Smart water.
$1.25 at the convenience store.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, you get a couple of these. This is the 1 liter size. And the way I will use this in the side of my pack, you know what? I'm going to take over the screen just for a second. I promise I'll bring you guys all back.
Yeah, right.
But the way I do this is I've got a platypus bag, a 1 liter platypus bag with a drinking tube attachment, and then one of those smart water bottles that tuck into the side pouch of my pack. I'll do that on one side, and then on the other side, I'll either have multiple smart water bottles, or I'll use something like one of these Hydra Pack. This is a 2 liter that fits right down in there. Well, the 3 and even the 4 liters actually will fit in there. Actually, 4 liters a little bit on the big side, but the 3 liter fits in there really nicely as well. So those are all, bring everyone back here, those are all relatively inexpensive. And, everyone's got to be able to carry water on the trail. So you're not taking a huge risk of giving them something that's not going to be used. What kind of things would you tell people, you probably don't need to buy that? And I'm going to lead off with one right here. I don't know if this is big enough for people to see.
A pocket knife, exactly.
Not just a pocket knife. This is, that's not a knife. That's a knife. Everyone in a crew does not need a pocket knife. And in a crew, I generally am looking for them to have 2 knives, like a primary and a backup, and it can be tiny. I can't find my backpacking knife. It's tiny. It weighs a fraction of an ounce. It uses a scalpel blade, and the body of it's made of titanium, and I wear it as a necklace on the trail. And because really on the trail at Philmont, the only thing you're going to use that knife for, unless something really goes wrong, is cutting open food packets. and maybe cutting some line if you need to do so. Yeah, about like, all right, how do I bring Andy up on the screen?
Either that,
Yep.
or that there, or a small multi-tool, whether it be a Leatherman or one of the others.
Yeah, and it doesn't, certainly not a big one, like one of the little compact ones, because the name of the game here is carrying, the minimum amount of weight that you can get away with and still be functional. Yeah, that is the Leatherman Micra, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And that is an excellent choice.
Got a scissors, screwdriver.
I carried one of those on the, let me think, on the 2021 trek, and it worked out really well. So,
and again, not everybody in the crew, 2, 3, 4, and that's about it.
Yep.
But okay, let's say everyone in the crew has a big pocket knife that they carry. And I've seen crews like this before. I haven't necessarily seen this, but you know what's going to happen if everyone in the crew has a pocket knife? You're going to want
perfect.
So I will, although this backpacking first aid kit has my Gear Report Reviews logo on it, I have no financial incentive here. I get nothing when people buy these, but you'll notice it also says Suncoast WFA. Sal Porto designed this. I kind of coordinated having it made. You can go to North American Rescue, which their website is NA Rescue. So we call them NAR, North American Rescue, narescue.com, and look for part number. Let's see, this is 853446. 853446. This is a kit that Sal designed specifically for Philmont. So good job, Sal.
Thank you.
And it does have some items in here that if people get a little wild and crazy with the pocket knives they insist on carrying, even though they're not really needed, then maybe you can address that with the items in the kit. All right.
Which leads us to, we hope you have wilderness first aid and CPR.
Yeah. Is the rule for this year? Is it been officially announced that it's going to be three required? Is that what I heard?
I have not heard.
Recommended 3.
Yeah. Is it recommended this year and it'll be required later?
No, next year will be required 4.
Good.
Yeah.
Wow.
I actually, as much as I hate all the different mandatory trainings at every level of BSA, that is one that if they were to say everyone on a crew has to have it, I would have a little heartburn over the logistical challenges, but not enough for me to say, no, that's wrong. Like that's important. That's really important. So yeah, even if the requirement's 3 or 4, don't be shy about getting everyone in your crew all trained up. And I'm not just trying to drive business for Sal, although you can go to Sal and he'll get you all trained up. That's just, when you're out there by yourselves as a crew, you're keeping each other alive if need be. So it's better to have to be all trainified before you do that.
Yeah, you don't get a free trip to Florida either.
I know. Sorry about that, Darrell.
Yeah.
You could bring me to St. Louis.
What else?
I wanted to mention while we're talking about, I think Darrell mentioned something about the Tooth of Time traders having items. You see here on the Philmont Scout Ranch Facebook page, they have something about Cyber Monday at the Tooth of Time traders. They've had a number of good sales over the holiday season. I want to say that I saw a post from Ashley at the Tooth of Time Traders recently that said, this is the last sale we're going to have this year. So you may have missed all their big sales by now, but they still have a lot of really neat things from a memento standpoint, but also At this point, crews for this coming summer don't know what their itineraries are going to be. So they don't know if they need the north sectional or the south sectional map, but the maps are pretty cheap. If you're looking for cool stocking stuffers, you could even get your scout or your scouter that's going to Philmont, both of those sectional maps or the full-size Philmont property map. And that may be useful to them in their trek selection process, take it into their crew so they can all look at everything.
Yeah. Couple that with a good compass.
Yeah. Good compass would be useful.
Did anybody, has it been mentioned about the Thursday night?
We did. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if we were broadcasting, but we did mention it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Darrel, we talked for 30 minutes without broadcasting. So
Yeah, right.
we did.
It was
We did.
27 minutes actually, but
Checks in the mail.
but who's counting?
Yeah. I ordered a patch for my my water bottle, my Nalgene. Everybody likes to, embellish theirs. See if this will show up.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to bring you up on the screen
love
here.
being
I can read it,
outside.
but there we go. I love being outside. All right. Nice.
So do I.
Well, I'm going to have to figure out where to get one of those.
What? Well, I was thinking maybe we could, I talked to the guy and he'll give us a discount. Maybe we can, put PTT on there.
Yeah. So,
I like it.
another inexpensive option, if everyone who goes to Philmont is required to sleep in a tent. My preference is to hammock camp. I went years without sleeping in a tent because of my back, but then Philmont has made me go back to tents, which means you need a ground cloth. So I like for this kit here it's a window kit. It's polycryo, like heat shrink film. So when you use it as a ground cloth under a tent, you don't actually heat shrink it, or at least we hope you don't heat shrink it. If you heat shrink it, you've done something wrong. Okay. But this makes a really good, inexpensive, super, super light ground cloth for someone to use under their tent. But there is one caveat. It can be rather delicate. It does a really good job of protecting the tent from abrasions, but it can also
Tear.
Oh, it looks like Sal's going to cut loose here.
Yeah, I'm going to cut loose.
All right. Well, we appreciate you being here, Sal. Thanks,
Yeah,
and enjoy your company.
Yeah, my son's coming in this weekend. He's flying in, so he's got to call me.
Yep.
Yeah, coming in this weekend. He's flying in, so okay. Yeah, we'll talk at you guys later.
We'll see you, Sal.
All right. Thanks. So I recommend this for people who are very attentive to their gear. They can really go light with it. But if they are rough on their gear, don't really pay attention that much, maybe a sheet of Tyvek. Get them a little piece of Tyvek that they can use as a footprint under their tent. So I think that's a reasonable stocking stuffer gift type item. How about something like this? Guesses? Anyone?
Pillow? A pillow?
Rucksack?
No, God, no.
How about a pack cover, a waterproof pack cover?
Yep.
There's something that, again, check with your scout or your scouter that's going. If they have a pack that has a built-in pack cover, this would be a redundant gift potentially.
Yeah.
Unless you get them one that's a whole lot lighter, and that helps them out. So definitely, if it's something that if they don't have it, they're going to want to have it, because I generally don't use a pack cover when I'm just backpacking, because my backpack itself is waterproof, but I use one at Philmont because when it rains, it really rains, and there's a lot of stuff on the outside. Here's one, a suggestion from John, a day pack. Did any of you guys take a day pack on the trail with you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I did.
I don't.
I did for a while, but then I got a new pack which had a an attic that you can take off and use as a fanny pack, and I use that.
Yeah.
Back on the ground cloth, the other thing is I've used a couple of years the orange and silver, the space blanket. Put the silver side up, and it keeps a little warmth in the tent.
Yeah. And that could be important because especially when you get up to the higher altitude camps, oh my goodness, Comanche Peak. I still have, I was going to say I have nightmares about it. I don't actually have nightmares, but maybe I do actually. I don't know. We were super cold and wet up there one evening on the, what was it? The 21 trek.
We had hail that year so much it looked like it snowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
At
Yeah, you
Comanche
never know what
Peak,
you run out.
not long
never know
after
what
you were there.
Yeah.
I think I saw Mr. Bollinger pop in with a question.
He did. I think that's the one we just addressed.
Did we answer that?
Yeah.
Daypack, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. Trying to get back to, I see there's another. Oh, okay. I see. I see, you guys don't see because I'm talking about stuff in the private chat that, all right, let me pull that over to the other screen and I will show you what Andy was telling us about in the private chat is the day pack that he takes, plans.
Yeah, it's a similar version to this one. It's actually,
Mhm.
they have a lighter weight option than this. That was, I mean, it crushes down to smaller than the size of your fist, but this is a general concept of kind of what it looks like. This one's a heavier one that I wouldn't recommend, but the one that I had was 3 or 4 ounces. So throwing that in your pack, and my son actually took it when we summited Baldy, and I took my pack, which was empty, because we actually had to stop at Baldy Town and resupply with food and then head back to camp for the day. So I summited Baldy with an empty pack, just carrying, a rain shell and a water bottle. And my son summited carrying this with, a sweatshirt and a ball cap or something like that in it.
I guess it might depend on what kind of trek you have. I know ours, we didn't have any side treks that we were doing. We were south and didn't really need it. If you're going to Baldy, I would say, that might be a good thing to bring.
So here's where I'm kind of on the fence. A lot of people will say, like, if you're going to summit the Tooth, if you're on the south side and you're going to summit the Tooth, but you're not camping there, because a lot of people, they'll come from either Clark's Fork or Upper Clark's or Schaefer's, and they pass through on the way hiking down the Trail of Tears into camp to end their trek. So the Tooth becomes a side hike where there are bear lines and, you're running your bear bags up, leaving your packs down, and not so generally what I say is, like, for a Baldy summit, our tents are going to be set up. I'm going to leave my stuff either up in the bear bags or in the tent and carry an almost empty pack with just my essentials in it. And then, so I don't have to worry about purchasing and keeping track of and carrying an additional item like a day pack. But if you're coming on a Tooth of Time side hike, it may not really be that convenient to empty your backpack in order to use it as a day pack to carry your water bottle and your rain gear and the items that you want for that little side hike. So you gotta think about what your itinerary is, how you're going to work things out. I wear pants with cargo pockets on days that we're going to do a side hike, and I wear. I know Sal talked about getting rain gear. I wear an ultralight backpacking poncho that is just barely bigger than this pack cover. So I'll have that clipped to my belt and tucked in a pocket. I'll have one of my smart water bottles in another pocket. And, for the little bit that we're doing on a Tooth summit, I don't really need much. That and my camera, because I take the camera everywhere. But aside from that, I really don't need a lot additional.
And the side hikes, I mean, Baldy is a whole lot different side hike than the Tooth or even Phillips. Side hiking Baldy is a 3-4 hour half day trip. So you're going to need more. You're probably even going to need a meal with you. I mean, you can go up and down you can go up and down the tooth at a time in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So, where are you side hiking and what is it, what does it entail? And, you may even throw in a little first aid kit, in case you have some problem.
Yep.
But,
absolutely.
I mean, depending upon how you're summiting Baldy, I mean, that if you're coming from Copper Park, you could probably go up summit Baldy, go down the front side into Baldy Town, back to Copper Park, and you're gone practically the whole day.
Yeah.
So,
the
other thing I mentioned, little bit of itinerary planning. In the last couple of years, they've questioned crews who are going over Schaefer's Pass, and if they're then headed for either Clark's Fork, particularly Clark's Fork, they have to declare if they're going to side hike to the Tooth or if they're going to go straight to Clark's Fork, because the crews need to be into Clark's Fork for the supper, chuckawagon dinner by 4 o'clock. And if they do the Tooth, they can't get to Clark's Fork in time. So they have to, kind of declare which way they're going.
Wow.
So, that'd be quite a day. Jeez.
I mean, you come up from Miners Park or whatever, Schaefer's, side hike to the Tooth, come back, drop down and try to be into Clark's Fork by 4 o'clock can be tough.
Heck of a voice too, because you only expect to get one chuck wagon on a trek,
right?
And you're probably only passing by the Tooth once on a trek, so that's I bet that's going to create a little tension among crew members for making that decision.
Right, going to either that or going even over to Schaefer's Peak and pass, because if you're going to do the Tooth, you might as well do the Schaefer's Peak. So, they in the last couple of years they've kind of asked people to declare what they're going to do.
Yeah, that's the actual one that we took. That Osprey was it's a 3 ounce, folds into its own pocket. There's a pocket on the top that you can put, right by the kind of the grab handle, and it stuffs itself into that zippered pocket, and then you can zipper it shut. And it looks like that one. So, and that's tiny. That's only, 3 inches by 3 inches or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's real small.
Yeah. So someone taking something like that gives me a whole lot less heartburn than some of them that I've seen where they're like, oh, but it's only 2 pounds. And
yeah, I'm like, my full pack's only 2 pounds. Yeah.
That 2 pounds is significantly more than my entire backpack.
Yeah.
The day pack is not the day pack that you use to go to school every day.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That kind of thing works great. I mean, it's a small enough thing that, my son, who was the smallest scout on our trek, it was still plenty big to throw a rain jacket. We left early in the morning. Our goal was to be, real quick up to the top of Baldy, and then because we had to stop for lunch in Baldy Town and resupply and then come back. So we were the first crew on top of Baldy that morning by about 15 seconds. So we were hauling to get up there, but it was really cool to be up there just for at least a little bit before the next crew showed up.
Sure. So. Wow. All right. So some additional ideas. I am a big fan of stuff sacks, waterproof stuff sacks. These are Sea to Summit. This is a nano 8-liter. And I use these for organization within my pack. So all the clean clothes will be in one, all the dirty clothes will be in another. I have one that I put all my smellable stuff in. So when it goes up in the bear bag or the oops bag, it doesn't even have to actually go in. It can actually be just clipped through the carabiner, the carabiner for the bear bag, which I call the barabiner. It can be clipped through the barabiner, so that it's easier to get down if you need it. And I actually use, I think someone mentioned earlier, some of the places where you can get your sleep stuff where they don't have a lot of sales. This is the time of year they have sales. I use a quilt from Cedar Ridge Outdoors, and you can see how bulky this is in the storage bag, right? But then to put it in the backpack, I use one of these again from Sea to Summit, one of their event compression bags. It's got straps, so I will put my inflatable sleeping pad, my inflatable pillow, my sleep clothes, and my quilt. All of that goes in here. I zip it up and then compress it so it fits in the bottom of my pack, and then everything's in there. So once the tent's up, I just grab that, toss it in the tent. That's the only thing that goes in the tent with me. And then it makes organization easier. Plus, they're waterproof in case anything gets past the pack cover. And in my case, the waterproof pack, everything is, double, triple protected. Because when you're out there and you get days and days or in a row of rain, which has happened to me the last 2 years that I went, days on end, your stuff ain't going to dry out. So you got to keep it dry, or you're going to be wet and miserable and cold. So I like stuff sacks. I like compression sacks. You guys use either of those?
Yeah, I would say if you're budget conscious, they do have kind of different size packs of stuff sacks. They're not waterproof, but you can get kind of a 3-pack at Walmart. And actually, I use one of those for my overnight bag. I don't care if it gets wet. It usually does in the bear bag, but that's a fairly economical and pretty durable. I think I can't remember the brand.
I pack with Ziploc bags. I can get a whole, that's really the cheap side. I can get the whole day's worth of clothes, my underwear, my hiking shorts, my shirt, and socks all in one.
That's even cheaper. Yeah.
And the dirty ones go in and the clean ones comes out. My sleep clothes are in there, So.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people will use just even like a trash compactor bag as a pack liner. Yep. If they've got a stuff sack that they're worried maybe isn't completely waterproof, or just to have a little bit of extra redundancy, you line your pack with a trash bag. That the compactors are a little thicker, a little more durable. They'll last you an entire trek.
We actually used lawn bags. I like the black one.
Yeah.
And put your sleeping bag in a waterproof bag.
Yeah.
Because typically where does your sleeping bag go? It's on the bottom of your pack. You set your pack on the ground and you do program, and it starts to rain, and now your sleeping bag, even though it's in your pack, is right on the ground and the water's running right underneath it.
Yep.
Yeah. So talking about Ziplocs, I carry, you see my passport journal.
Yep.
I carry it with a little ink pen in its own little bag. And then, when you get to staff camps, you can get your little passport stamped. And I also use it to do my daily journaling on the trail. I keep that in a little Ziploc. I got a little bit larger Ziploc that I've got. Like, I keep some other things in here, like our trek itinerary. And also I've got some wilderness first aid cheat sheet kind of emergency help you recall things that I put in there. And so this is like a gallon size, a quart size, and then you can get, 2.5 gallons, I think, the big ones.
Yeah.
And those are awesome for doing laundry on the trail. If you don't want to use stuff sacks, you can actually pack, just like Darrel said, you can pack your clothes in them.
Yeah.
They're really, really amazing from a utility standpoint. But I will always, at the bottom of my pack, have probably at least 2 or 3 of each size bundled up inside one of those 2.5 gallon. And every time I give out half of them over the course of the trip, where someone is just desperately in need of. We get a couple days of rain and their stuff's starting to get wet. Here, put your stuff in here. I'm not a big fan of carrying spare stuff for other people on the trail. I'm more of a, hey, you bring your stuff, I'll bring my stuff. But people getting wet and cold on a long trek, that gets dangerous. So we gotta be prepared for that kind of stuff.
The other thing,
those,
use a gallon.
I think those are a great stocking stuffer. You can get anywhere. They're super cheap, and your scouter can share them with the crew if you buy them too many.
Darrel? Whoever's navigating our crew, we take the map, fold it so the side we're looking at and hiking at is in the Ziploc bag, and he can just carry it. Because if you carry it, even though the paper is waterproof, you carry it, and if you carry it in your hand, after a while, the moisture and the sweat of your hand starts rubbing the ink off the map, and that way it stays dry and it's easy to handle. You don't have to spend the $8, $10, $12 for one of those fancy map holders.
Right.
I think they're generally a little more than that too.
Yeah. Everybody, it's amazing. Everybody they want the map, but everybody's afraid to fold it differently or even write on it. Oh, no, you can't, fold it up whichever way you need it.
So here's another idea. Great little stocking stuffer. These are super cheap. This is a little folding sit pad. And I will use this depending on where we are, what we're doing. I will typically fold it over about like doubled up like this. Because they're long. And what's that?
They make a nice cushion on the chair too.
It's
it's the insulated
if you want to
chair.
Carry a chair, I mean, that's up to you. But
Darrel, I put that on our troop shopping list for our parents, a chair. So yeah. That's a stocking stuffer, actually.
You can stuff the chair inside your boots, not your trail runners.
I have both now, so I'm putting my feet on both areas. I hiked with trail runners last.
So you're a hybrid now.
I'm a hybrid. Exactly.
Give him time. He'll get there.
I like them both,
I do too. I hike in the boots in the wintertime.
They each have their place.
Yes. But the trail runners were a lot lighter.
Yeah,
definitely.
We only went 20 miles, but it was nice. Yeah,
pound on your feet, right?
Yeah. So the comments out in the chat have been a little bit light. I see there are more people out there than we have seen leave any comments. So if you're out there, let us know you're there, where you're from, when your trek is, whether it's this year, next year. That
What's on your Christmas list? Yeah. What would you like to have on your Christmas list for Philmont?
Yep. Let's see.
What's on your Christmas list, Rob?
Well, I've already got a zero chair, so I don't. And trail runners.
It's funny you say that. I have zero chair also.
And I just got a new Big Agnes tent, which is very light, very nice.
Which one did you get, Rob?
God, I can't remember. I'll look it up. It was super light. So let's see. Yes, the Fly Creek HVUL2.
Nice.
It was I like it. I took it on one event, and it was really light, really nice. So good for one person.
It's good for one person. Yeah. It's tight
one
for
person.
two.
It's a two-person tent. There's no way in Hades.
I've done two in that, and it's
unless it's a little kid.
Yes, and it was in Boundary Waters, our first trip. We took that, and my son was luckily pretty small, but it was tight, even with as little as he was on that trek. And the other thing that I didn't love about the Fly Creek is the side entry. It's kind of the narrow end.
Mm-hmm.
So versus the Tiger Wall, which is a similar kind of setup, but it has kind of the long end is where the door is on the Tiger Wall, where on the Fly Creek, it's on the short end. So you end up kind of crawling over your pillow to get out. And definitely with two people, it's a nightmare.
There's no way to do two people. Yeah, you have to put your head at the front. And You're right. Yeah, but it was light. I mean,
it's so light. It's a nice tent. It holds up well in weather. Yeah. I really like that tent.
And who
was it? It's too small on here.
John says waiting for Durston 2-man. So I haven't seen that one. That looks cool.
Is he waiting for the pro because the regular's out? I got the 1P in just the polyester or whatever, the Sil Poly that they've got, but now they're coming out with the pro, which is the Fly is in all Dyneema, so it's extra ultra lightweight. If you're curious to know more about Durston gear, we did a live stream with Dan just a month or so back up on my channel. You can go check that out. He does some great stuff. I love his tents. The trekking pole tent that he uses is pretty cool.
I actually ordered one from Outdoor Vitals that was a trekking pole tent. That's what I was looking for, and I had trouble putting it up, so I don't know if anybody else had that. So I sent it back and got the the one I got. So
yeah,
I'm sure it's nice. I just couldn't get it to go up right. So.
I've taken one of those big Agnes Fly Creek HV2 Platinum on 3 treks. Super light, not too hard to put up. I like that it's freestanding because I've also recently got a my first trekking pole tent, and we had a guy on the last trek that took a trekking pole tent. I'll tell you what, the first day it was kind of comical because he had just gotten and hadn't really put it up. Like maybe he put it up once, but it took him a couple days to figure out the ideal way to set up his tent. You would hope that by the time, so here's the PSA time here. Doesn't matter what you get.
Don't do that.
Stuff we're talking about.
Put
Use it on a shakedown.
Shakedown, please. Yeah.
Shakedown,
Yeah. Practice pitching camp and breaking camp. Like when you're not out there hiking, a lot of people spend a lot of time doing miles on a shakedown weekend. And that's important because, there are a lot of issues with backpack fit, with boot fit, with socks, with other things that you may not notice until you break that 6 or 7 miles a day for a couple days in a row. And then you realize, oh, wow, this is going to be a problem, but you won't know it if you're only doing, 2-3 miles on a shakedown hike weekend. So that's one thing, is put your miles in so you can really evaluate those things about your gear. But the other is don't spend all your time walking. You can spend a couple hours on, or maybe even just at a scout meeting. How many times can you set up your camp and break it and get your backpack packed before the meeting's over? Because that setup and breakdown is the biggest learning curve that I see with crews. So whatever gear you have, make sure you know what you're doing with it. And I've got an article about tent options for let's see, I'm gonna get that to open another window. Best backpacking tent options for Philmont, and I've recently added one to it that I think it's like $50 on Amazon, and a toner I think is the brand, something like that. And I like it, and I'm thinking that it may make it to Philmont at some point. But I'm also a little leery that I've gotten so used to having that kind of freestanding tent. I'm not sure if I want to deal with a trekking pole tent, but definitely, the key there is whatever you want to take, get out and practice so that you're not learning something about your gear. You already know what on before you get there.
Several of the crews in our contingent,
that article I was talking about.
Even if they're just going for a day, 5, 6, 7 miles, they'll take their tents and halfway through they'll stop and they'll set up camp
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe have lunch and then tear it down. I mean, you don't have to go on an overnight to do the practice.
Yeah, we
that's
were
a
actually
great
going to do
idea.
that with our crew, and we had trained or prepped for Philmont 2 other times in 18 and 20. So they didn't need any help trying to set up that tent camp.
Jeff or Scott or Andy, where do you come in on a single wall tent like a tarp tent? I've used that the last couple of years for myself.
Yeah, I on my last trek, I took a single wall tent, and I took actually the triplex, which is a Z-Pax ultralight. It's a Dyneema tent, so they are not cheap, but they are super light, and they're a single wall tent, and so the knock against them is you get condensation on the inside, especially on some of those days where it can just rain and rain and rain like crazy. As a default to that, part of my kit, what I always bring is I will bring in my cook kit, a little towel, a little packable kind of lightweight thing. And I use that to wipe down the tent actually. So if I don't have that on some of my solo treks or whatever, I use my buff for that. So I always want to have something that can help wipe that down. They coach you on keeping one of the doors open. If it's a steady rain, you don't actually get water in the tent, leaving one of the doors open. So you can get some airflow, some cross ventilation that goes through, which will help reduce the amount of condensation. But we took a triplex and had 2 dads, that slept in it. So, just the breathing in it, the rain, the humidity in the air during that rainy night, we definitely had some condensation inside the tent.
Yeah, I've used both a two-man and 3-man tarp tent, and similar issues. But as long as we had it, staked out good and taut, and we're able to, open the door and open the tail end where the feet are and got ventilation, condensation wasn't too bad. But that's certainly an issue for that. But like you say, lighter than heck.
Oh yeah. They're great for that. And the X-Mid that we were talking about before for trekking pole tents, in that same category are great, have great reviews, very storm worthy. People love them. The X-Mids can be tough to come by because they only release them in batches and people buy them up pretty quickly. So they've never 23 is supposed to be the first year where they really hit production that's supposed to keep up with demand. So they should have them more readily in stock. I think January they're going to have the next batch ready to go. So keep an eye out if you're looking at the
And those
Expo.
aren't too bad price wise either, are they?
No, you can get the 2-person, right around the $300 range, and you can get the 1-person for less. I want to say it was something like,
but that
230,
tent,
250.
Those single wall and the tarp type tent, may be a very viable option for, an odd person crew where one person has to sleep by themselves, a single person, not carry a heavier tent.
That'd be a great one. The X-Mid 1-person would be good for that. The other one would be the Lunar Solo is one that I'd recommend, kind of in that 200 to 230 range if you're using trekking poles and looking for that. The Fly Creek, the Tiger Wall from Big Agnes are good ones if you're looking for freestanding style that has its own poles that you're going to carry along. Maybe you don't use trekking poles and you want something that doesn't need trekking poles. Those would be, and there's a lot in that category, but those are so light and so well received.
And if you're using the Philmont tents or some other similar tents, splitting it up, you're probably looking at 2.5, 3 pounds, depending on the tent, which is not horrible. That's still a lot extra, but that's still not too bad. And our adults, we actually shared tents because we didn't want to carry anymore. We didn't want to carry our own tents.
The comment on the screen about packing it the same way, in the last few years, I've really gone to the, what do you put your tent in? It's a stuff sack. I've just been stuffing it.
Stuff it. Yeah, that's what they do at Northern Tier.
Because if you keep holding it in the same place, it weakens it, right? The waterproofing or whatever, right in that crease. But yeah, I just stuff it.
I've actually gotten to where I think the same concept as stuffing. I'll just grab a spot on it, like on the nest. I'll kind of collapse it down, so I'm grabbing the floor and the top together. Pick it up, wrap it around my hand, and just start kind of twisting and balling it up and shove that in. And same with the fly, just because it gives it a little bit of compactness to make it a little easier to get in there. But then
tip might be to put the poles in first.
So this is my tent, the Big Agnes. What is it? Fly Creek HV2 Platinum, something like that. So that's the tent and the stakes, and then the poles don't fit in that; those go separate. But
poles and if your stakes can be, light or nothing, and it goes up with the trekking poles. So.
Oh, stakes. That's a good comment because
I like mine medium.
Medium rare.
If people are going to use the Philmont tents, then you're going to need stakes. So that's a really nice little gift stocking stuffer type item. You can get these basic aluminum stakes with a pull tab on them for cheap. This is a pack of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's probably going to be enough for most tents. I recommend that you get a bright color, not these black ones. A company sent these to review, and that was part of my feedback. Was I do love the super bright pull tabs, but I like the actual metal to be brightly colored also, because
orange is
they
good.
may think they have defeated my ability to lose them by putting these pull tabs on, but I will rise to the occasion and figure out how to lose one.
Yeah, either that, or if you have them like that, just lay them on a piece of cardboard and spray paint the top third.
Yeah,
so you can see them in the grass and the dirt or whatever.
We found stakes, I didn't think, in every campsite we went to. So we came back with more than what we left with.
Yeah, if you're using
aluminum gutter nails are cheap and work very well too.
Yeah, if you're using a Philmont tent or Philmont tarp, you got to bring your own stakes. So that's something that could be a good item for folks. All right, I'm going to make last call out in the chat. So thanks for everyone who has offered questions, comments, feedback. This is your opportunity to interrogate the panel one last time before we cut out. I'm going to ask each of the people on the panel to give a little parting wisdom. If there's something we hadn't covered yet, anything you want to bring up about, put yourself in the position of maybe an adult crew advisor who hadn't been out to Philmont before, and they're looking like, oh my goodness, I'm getting nervous. Parents keep asking me what to do. I'm not sure what to tell them. Is there anything we hadn't touched on that is an important comment that they just really need to know?
Winter's coming, snow's on the way. Don't eat that yellow snow.
You know what? I like that. That's a useful comment.
Well, maybe not so much in North Carolina, but Andy will see the snow we see in St. Louis. 4 hours after. So yes.
Next week we're supposed to get some.
That's what I hear. Merry Christmas.
My advice would be, don't panic. Talk to your crew, see what you can do, look at your options, and this
Frank Zappa listener. I love it.
And you know, this chat, I mean, you know, drop your question here. Yeah, you're going to get, you know, what do we got? 11,000 people, 12,000 people. You'll probably get 1,000 answers, but ask the question. You know, there's not a dumb question. And shakedown, practice.
Yes, you'll get opinions, that's for sure, in this group.
Well, like always, you have to just, like what Darrel said, shake down often, and take your gear with you. Don't take it to Philmont and set it up the second time. You know, like, or I haven't worn these boots. These are brand new.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
don't do that.
You know, do not take the tissue paper out of the toes of your boots when you hit the floor.
Yeah.
And Andy would say, don't worry about the boots. Just go with the trail.
Just stop at the Tooth of Time Traders and get some trail runners on your way out. No.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. We've covered a lot. Trying out your stuff is important. I went through a few different iterations before I actually found stuff that I liked, that I thought worked for Philmont. So, you know, those shakedowns really did help. And I usually recommend start with what you already have. You know, don't necessarily run out and think you have to get the best of everything, or, hey, so-and-so says get that. See what you've got, whether it's your clothing, you know, whether it's your own pack, see what you can work with, and then figure out where the holes in your system and focus on those areas. And slowly over time, you know, I do a lot of trips every single year, you know, not just a Philmont kind of thing. So investing a little bit more for me makes sense. But some of these scouts that are going, and some of the parents that are going too, they're not going to go backpacking a lot. So, you know,
it may be a one and done.
Yeah, it very well may be. So,
and to add to that, I think if you're an lead advisor or an adult, watch those scouts that are going with you on these training hikes, because they may not have the right backpack. They may not have shoes that fit them, which we found that on our track. They may not have the best sleeping bag, which we found out on the track. Or, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you can look at before you go on your hikes. Not just yourself, but you know, you want it to be enjoyable for the scouts and for the whole crew. So sometimes those are things you need to create or fix both, you know, first couple hikes.
So this discussion has been about gear and gift options, but I want to take the opposite approach and say the cheapest, lightest gear you can take is the stuff that you never even buy and you don't even bother taking it with you. There is a big difference between needs and wants, and a lot of people carry a lot of things that really they get back and it's like, yeah, I never touched it. So you have to be prepared in the case of an emergency. And you know, we carried this first aid kit in 2021, and it got opened the morning of our last day in the field. Someone, and I can't remember what they got out of it, but it was something like, really, you broke the seal on it to get that out? Like, it really wasn't even needed. And that's awesome. Like, I'm glad that we carried this, you know, however, what is it, a pound or so, you know, first aid kit and didn't need it. But there are so many other things that I see people take that they didn't need to spend the money on that. They didn't need to take up the room in their pack. They didn't need to put the work in, humping it up and down the mountains. They should have just left it at home. So as much as this was about what gear you can get, really use those shakedown hikes to figure out what you don't need. You know, if you carry it on 4 shakedown hikes and you hadn't used it once, maybe you need to think about if it needs to be in your pack or not. And I thought of one other gift item that could be great to give someone. Get them some good, like, polypropylene long underwear. And you may want their feedback on what size is going to be appropriate for them, if they want the thinner or a little bit thicker. Every time I go, my long underwear gets a little bit thicker because I get cold up there in the mountains. So Yeah.
The other thing is on the gear that you do buy or that you have, consider, can it do double or triple duty? I mean, if you go, I know Jeff's a poncho guy, but if you do a rain jacket, you can wear that jacket even if it's not raining. It can be your long sleeve jacket.
Fun fact, you can wear a poncho when it's not raining also.
Right. But it's going to keep you warm.
As Jeff often does.
If it's keeping out the rain, it's going to keep out the wind, and a fleece underneath. I think a poncho might be a little breezier, but you can wrap it around you. Anyways, but yeah, look for items that can do 2 and 3 things
while sitting in your chair wearing your boots. Yes. Or your trail run.
Then you want the poncho because then it covers your chair and it doesn't.
That's right. Yeah.
This is probably not big enough that people can really see it, but something that I'm not sure we talked about after I actually remembered to hit the broadcast button was there are lots of different places where you can buy gear at retail brand new, but you can also get gear from places like Gear Trade where they're like a clearinghouse for used gear. You can go to the REI garage, which is their used gear section. You can go on eBay. Just be more careful when you're buying used gear to make sure it's not being sold because it has a flaw or because it's worn out. Look at the pictures, look at the videos. If you can get your hands on it in person before you buy it, but you can save so much money doing it that way, as well as potentially finding someone you can borrow gear from.
I would also put in a pitch for Thursday night, the Philmont prep seminar. They're going to talk itineraries and crew dynamics. I suspect that following that presentation on Thursday, the trucks will probably be out on Friday and Saturday. That's just mine. That's don't tell, don't call Philmont and say, where are they? Mr. Tadsen said they were going to be out. But I suspect, they've said the 15th, which will be Thursday. So, it's going to be out. And,
I'm calling them Friday morning. Darrel said.
You said. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Make sure you ask for Philip or Steve.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think Phillips is.
What are we going to chat about next time? Probably the itineraries and trek selection.
I would think so.
Yeah.
And I need to work on a page with past broadcast. I posted some links today or the playlist of all of the different online chats that we've done, and I know especially like I should have posted. But the 2 months that we didn't do one of these, I really should have posted whatever the relevant prior discussion was, because most of what we talked about, it doesn't change from year to year. And that would have been helpful. But we've got a whole catalog of different topics that we've already talked about that are out there that people can get to. And those playlists are in the chat for this broadcast in the Facebook group. So if people have not seen that sounded exciting.
Yeah.
That was my daughter. Yeah, she didn't know we were live. Yeah, she's a part of the event forever.
So you can find the old broadcasts. You may be able to find them here in Facebook, but there are also some links out there to the playlist where you can see all of the past broadcasts as well. So yeah, definitely lots of good information. We presented lots of good information out in the official Philmont broadcast as well. All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thanks to all of our esteemed panelists. With any luck, we'll be back the second Tuesday of next month. That will be whatever that day is in January.
And to everybody who's out there and the 4 of you here, happy holiday, Hanukkah.
Or whatever.
Enjoy the holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah, same to you. Thanks again. I think I'm going to shut it down. Is anyone not ready?
Hike on.